The USA Today AFCA coaches poll has been released. Ohio State, not just the highest ranked Big Ten team, but also number 2 overall in the land after an outstanding 2021. Michigan is number 6, followed by Michigan State at 14. Wisconsin also inside the top 20. Iowa and Penn State just outside the top 25. Minnesota and Purdue, the other Big Ten teams receiving top 25 votes. And the 2022 Big Ten season officially kicks off less than 3 weeks, and it will do so in another country. Nebraska and Northwestern, a historic opener from Dublin on Saturday, August 27th. The early start means early camp for the Huskers and Scott Frost. Much more on Big Red and its head man as we check in for the first time today with Dave Revson.
Pleased to be joined by the head coach of the Huskers, Scott Frost. Coach, good-looking practice out there today. How would you assess where your team is at this point in camp?
We're having a good time. I think the culture on the team's great. They're enjoying being around each other. I think they have a sense of urgency, and we're working hard. So I'm pleased with where we are right now.
A little bit of a change for you, it seems, this year in terms of your role with the offense, or how has it changed bringing in Mark Whipple?
It's been good. You know, he's a guy that has a lot of football experience. We're able to kind of relate things that we know to each other and kind of cooperate to build something. It also frees me up knowing a guy can run the offense to be around, do a little more with special teams and defense, and just have a lot more touches with a lot more players.
Certainly, I don't need to tell you, there's going to be a lot of focus on the quarterback position. Give us a sense of where things stand. It certainly seemed like Casey Thompson had kind of taken the reins today. Is that a fair assessment?
I would say it's his to lose right now. You know, he's the guy that we have with the most experience. He's done a good job in this camp, seeing a real step up from spring ball. Also got some other guys playing well that are getting a lot of reps, and guys with a lot of talent that are chasing him. So we'll see where it lands.
He's a transfer portal guy, as is Chubba Purdy as well. So you got a couple quarterbacks there, 16 in all out of the portal. Aside from those two, who stood out here early on?
It's hard to pick one out. I think we did a good job kind of addressing some needs and adding overall talent to the team. Biggest thing when you bring guys like that in is make sure that they become part of the team and it's not just a collection of players. And I think our leadership on the team's done a good job embracing them and trying to get them to adopt to our culture, and it's been a good fit so far.
Felt to me, at least coming in, like both lines of scrimmage maybe had some question marks. How do you feel about each side of the ball there?
Yeah, I'm really pleased with what I see right now. We got to have some young guys step up. I think more than question marks, the questions are who's going to be the guy. And I think we have some options. Seeing a lot of good play from a lot of guys, and some of that competition isn't done yet.
How do you adjust your time clock heading over to Ireland, both beforehand and afterward, because you guys come home and play a game right away?
Yeah, we've been talking about it for a long time, making sure we do what's right scientifically for the guys to be at their best. Also just addressing it with the team and challenging them to be mature enough to handle that challenge, both the challenge going over there and getting ready to play and the challenge coming back and get ready to play. So it's not ideal, but it's a challenge we're looking forward to and excited for that game.
We are excited for it as well. Scott, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it, and appreciate the hospitality here today as well.
Thanks for being here, Dave. Appreciate it.
Coach Frost touched on that quarterback competition right now being led by Casey Thompson, the transfer from Texas. Now, ironically, he transferred because Quinn Ewers, the former Ohio State quarterback, transferred in to Austin. Chubba Purdy, you heard that name mentioned. He's a transfer from Florida State, and just the 5th true Frost to ever start a game for the Noles. And you may remember Logan Smothers got some time last year and was impressive when Adrian Martinez was injured. Let's get a big picture look from Lincoln as well as we head back to the home of the Big Red and say hello to Joshua Perry and Howard Griffith.
Just finished up day 1 practice here at Nebraska. Howard, we saw a lot of guys running around looking good, specifically the quarterback position is what a lot of people are looking at. Casey Thompson, what do you think of his performance today?
You know, I really like what I saw out of him. Obviously, leading the team, he has a lot of leadership qualities that I think jump out. I love the way he gets out on the move and is able to throw the ball vertically down the field. I think because he has so much experience, it's probably ultimately going to be his job to lose. But Purdy's going to be a good player, too. I think he's also going to be put in some situations where he's going to be able to help this team as well.
I agree with you. I think those two guys are going to be able to push each other. You mentioned the athleticism of Thompson. That's the thing that stands out to me. And we know this Nebraska offense likes to run with an athletic quarterback, so it should be a pretty seamless transition from there. But, of course, my eyes were on the defense, and those guys were flying around today. I mean, it was really energetic on that side of the ball. Luke Reimer is a guy who you can tell is a leader out there. Garrett Nelson, I mean, that guy was a menace, especially in one-on-ones. I really think that's the strong point of the team at this point.
You talk about Nelson. I think he sets the tempo for this entire defense. When you look at the way he plays, each and every play, he really gets after the offensive lineman that he's going after, and I think he's going to continue to wreak havoc in the backfield. I really like what they're doing in the secondary also because they've got 4 guys back there that can play man-to-man. Even their safeties can come down inside the box and be able to cover one-on-one if they need to, if they're put in some of those situations that the offensive guys like to do, try to stress the secondary.
No, and I mean, they got some really good athletes back there. But when you talk about the mood of this team, one of the things that I felt today was it was a different vibe than we were here a year ago. It was a lot more energy. You saw guys finishing plays, running all the way through the end zone, sometimes 70 yards. And I think that's going to go a really long way for this team.
Yeah, and I think part of that is obviously they're going to Ireland to play, which is tough to be able to go over and do that playing week 0. But I think the emphasis has been so much pressure that's on this team. I think that the players really understand it and really want to come out to a fast start. And you're absolutely right. When you think about watching this and this team in its totality, to me, they were further along today than they were last year when we saw them at this time.
Well, early returns looking good for Nebraska, but we'll see week 0 in Ireland.
Never a surprise when Joshua Perry wants to talk defense, but he has good reason. A year ago, Nebraska allowed its fewest points per game in more than a decade, fewest yards per play since 2013, and fewest rushing yards per game since 2016. The architect of that defense, Eric Shenander, with Jerry DiNardo.
Coach, the black shirts is a long-time tradition here at Nebraska. Explain to the viewers what a black shirt is and maybe how a young person or someone on the defense would get a black shirt.
Yeah, it's one of the best traditions in football, I think, and it's very important to the fans and also the former black shirts at Nebraska. We tell the guys that in order to earn a black shirt, you have to be a starter, and it could be a package starter. It could be the nickel or the dime. We've had some package starters come out, but also you have to make yourself and your teammates better on and off the field. When we give someone a black shirt, we expect their level of play, their level of off-the-field work, their level of academics, all facets of their life to increase. And so really that black shirt can be given, but that thing's rented, and rent's due every day. So we can take that black shirt away anytime we feel like you're not upholding the standard that the former black shirts have set.
So you could be a starter and still not be a black shirt or lose a black shirt?
Yeah, we've went into every season we've been here so far with not full 11 black shirts. And then usually those guys see what's going on and they can have a chance to earn them throughout the year, and most of them have.
One of the parts of the Nebraska program that has improved every year since Coach Frost has been here has been your defense. Why the steady improvement?
I think the familiarity with the system is definitely a piece. We got the thing fine-tuned. I think the first year, there was a learning curve for everybody, the players, coaches. Everybody had a lot to learn about the Big Ten and the way this league operates. We got the system, it's never perfect, but we were consistently trying to make it perfect. And then the effort the kids play with. I mean, the last couple of years, they've just played really, really hard. They've played hard for one another. They've played hard for Nebraska. And I just think the effort they've shown out has been the biggest reason we've improved.
How about some defensive players that we'll see that maybe we haven't seen in the past years?
Yeah, I mean, some of those guys, some of the transfer portal guys from the immediate impact, Tommy Hill's at defensive back, O'Shawn Mathis is at defensive end, Stephon Wynn at defensive tackle. A freshman, Ernest Hausman, is going to play a lot of football for us, whether that's in a rotational role, special teams, whatever. And then most of the other guys are back, but I think those three are going to contribute along with Deshaun Singleton in the back end. Marquise Buford hasn't been a starter for us, but he's going to be definitely out there a lot of football this year. So I think those are the guys to watch for that necessarily haven't played a bunch of ball for us.
Transfers have become a big part of college football. How long does it take the average transfer to learn your system? Are some of the systems similar when they come in? Tell us about the transition.
Yeah, I think some of the systems they come from are very different. We've had some guys that it's a totally new deal for them, and it's taken them a little bit longer. Some of the guys that have transitioned in have been just learning a new language. It's been the similar calls, similar techniques, just learning different words for every situation. So I think every guy's on an individual basis, but the most important thing is they get assimilated to the culture and their teammates first, and those guys have done a great job with that.
Appreciate your time, Coach.
Thank you so much for having me.
An early season start, plenty of new faces, and renewed optimism helping define training camp for the Northwestern Wildcats in 2022. After a trip to the Big Ten title game 2 seasons ago, injuries and inconsistency buried the Cats in 2021. NU finishing just 3-9 with only 1 win in league play. Perhaps the most significant injury that Northwestern had to deal with last year was the season-ending injury suffered by Cam Porter during last year's training camp. The good news for NU, in Porter's absence, Evan Hull became a star, rushing for over 1,000 yards. Even better news, both men are now back and healthy and ready to provide a 1-2 punch for the Purple. Now, Porter's numbers from 2020 may not just absolutely blow you away, but you have to remember that 333 was basically all in the last 3 games of the season, and you see Hull going over 1,000 yards in his 12 games a year ago. Howard Griffith has more with one half of this Thunder and Lightning duo.
Pleased to be joined by running back Cam Porter. First thing I have to ask you is, how's the body feeling?
Body is feeling good. You know, I'm blessed to be back out there with my teammates, excited to start this season.
The mental process of coming back from the injury, how's that been for you as well?
I mean, it's definitely been a lot, but I mean, everybody in the building has helped support me to get back to where I am. So really blessed to have them on my side, and we're ready to attack it this year.
Outstanding backfield you guys
For sure.
have. It's a lot of competition there.
Sure.
How are some of the ways you guys compete?
Every single day. I mean, it started ever since we came in. You know, me and Evan Hall have been battling since we were young guys, and now we added Trey Tice and Andrew Clare to the room. So each and every day we're just pushing each other to come out and bring the best out of each other. So
You got a little quarterback battle going.
for sure.
I'm not asking you to tell me who's leading,
right.
but give me some of the attributes and some of the skill sets of both quarterbacks.
I mean, both quarterbacks are smart guys. Each can make a big play instantly. Both of them are continuing to battle it out each and every day, man. So I think 2 things about them is just they're competitors, man, and they make big plays. So they're going to keep battling it out.
How have you guys been preparing for the Week 0 game?
We know it's coming early, so just mentally attacking everything differently this year. You know what I mean? Everything being moved up a week early. We just got to approach everything with that much more of a sense of urgency. So that's kind of how we're approaching everything. Everything is right now. We got to go. So we're excited.
Now, 5 Wildcats received all Big Ten honors a year ago. Evan Hull among them, Adetomiwa Adewabare, A.J. Hampton, Cam Mitchell. But the headliner may be Peter Skronsky. Not just Northwestern fans, but Big Ten fans and college football fans nationwide need to take attention. A guy that could make noise at the next level as well. More from Dave Revson and Jerry DiNardo.
Coach, had a chance to watch Northwestern practice. This is a team coming off a disappointing year, as you know, on the heels of winning the Big Ten West the season before. General impressions of what you saw from this Northwestern team?
Yeah, I'd start with individual drills, meaning each coach is with his own group. I was really impressed. I thought there was great coaching going on, great teaching, great enthusiasm. So that's where it started for me. Then when the groups got together, you might have the linebackers with the defensive line against the offensive line and running backs. I thought it continued there. I thought it was really active group teaching and really impressed with that. And then obviously the last thing would be team.
And when we saw a team, that's where you get the best chance to kind of assess how it all fits together. Let's start with the quarterback spot. This was a real sore spot for this team last year and has been 2 of the last 3 years. The year it wasn't, they had Peyton Ramsey here and won the West. And, of course, before that, Clayton Thorson and won the West with him as well. Where do you see the quarterback battle, which seems like kind of a 2-man race right now with Helinski and Sullivan?
Well, Helinski has the experience, obviously, and he's got the experience of making mistakes, watching it on tape, correcting it. Sullivan, I think, maybe has more talent. One of the toughest decisions a head coach will ever make is who to play a quarterback when there's a battle. Within that decision, a lot of times it's talent versus experience. And so I don't envy Fitz. I think it'll probably be a tough decision. The offense didn't change much regardless who was in there. That's a good thing because one's not a runner, one's not a passer, that kind of situation. I thought it was pretty close, especially with Ryan's experience.
What about on the defensive side of the ball? That was the area where it really dropped off last year. And obviously you had a first-year coordinator in Jim O'Neill. I know you got a chance to spend some time with him today. Do you think they've made progress on that side of the ball?
Yeah, I asked Coach O'Neill about it, and his first thing was in the spring, they knew they had done a lot of things that weren't good enough, himself included. And so I think that's the first step to get the thing fixed. You know, Fitz said last year that the biggest adjustment was terminology. Well, that adjustment should be behind you. If the biggest adjustment was terminology, that certainly is over. So if that's true, we should expect a better defense.
Biggest area of strength you saw today?
Running backs, running game. I think the offensive line, I think we counted 17 of them out there, or maybe a little bit more. That's a lot to have a deep line. And then, you know, they have obviously have Cam in the backfield and Hull in the backfield. The best thing for the quarterback battle would be able to run the ball. Take some pressure. You know, we're in the age of spread teams. In spread teams, as the quarterback goes, the team goes. As the quarterback goes, the program goes. And the way you can help a quarterback is to have a run game. I can't imagine they'll have an effective offense without a run game.
Like Nebraska and Northwestern, Illinois off to an early training camp start thanks to an upcoming Week 0 non-conference home game against Wyoming. You may remember a year ago, the Illini marked Brett Bielema's return to the Big Ten with a season-opening upset of Nebraska at home in Champaign. You may, however, not recall the duo of Chase Brown and Josh McCray. Sure, you know the names Haskins and Corum, Allen, Malusi, Henderson, and Williams, but Brown and McCray somewhat forgotten, one of just 4 Big Ten duos to combine for more than 1,500 rushing yards in 2021. Let's head back to Illinois training camp and check in once again with Howard Griffith.
Joined by Chase Brown, running back. Tell me how this camp compares to last camp.
Yeah, well, the first thing I think of right away is the energy that the guys are bringing this year and the commitment that I saw in the offseason. You know, taking this crew got us prepared. We were running a bunch just to get us prepared for, you know, this type of offense, this tempo offense that we're running this year. And, you know, day in, day out, we just look so much better than we did on day one last year.
How different is the offense from what you're accustomed to?
Right. So I would compare it a lot to Rod Smith's offense that was here a couple years ago. Well, Lovey was the head coach, but like I said at media day, I mean, we're gonna spit the ball to the perimeter. We're gonna get the ball in our playmakers' hands, and you know we're gonna be explosive.
Talk to me a little bit about what's happening at the quarterback position. You guys got 2 quarterbacks that are very capable of winning games for you. Give me some attributes about both of them.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they both got their own swagger. They both play differently, but what's fun to watch is just, you know, how competitive they are and what they bring every single day. You know, it's above my pay scale on, you know, how the decision's made there, but, you know, Tommy's a little bit smaller, but with that, you know, comes quickness, and his decision-making has been they're really fun to watch. And Art might as well be the offensive coordinator and knows the playbook so well. So I'm just looking forward to these guys, and, you know truth will be told, August 28th. What are some of the things you wanted to work on in this camp to continue to improve your game? You're doing a great job right now, but there are some things you wanted to work on? Of course. The number one thing that comes to mind, my hands. I want to be a threat in the pass game. I want to be able to make plays off swings, you know, angle routes, just another way for me to become a force in the game. So definitely being a threat in the pass. What are some of the keys for this offense to go out and really have a successful year to help this team, you know, represent the West? Right. Honestly, just playing for the fans, playing for our family, playing for that name on our back, and making sure that, you know, when we go out there, we're giving our all and nothing less than that. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Have a great season. Appreciate you. Cheers.
Now, the outside assumption may be that Art Sitkowski has the upper hand to be the starting quarterback, and while that may turn out to be the case, both Brett Bielema and OC Barry Lunney have made it clear Syracuse transfer Tommy DeVito certainly in the mix. More on that topic and others, Dave Revson with the Illini Headman.
Coach, this was your 7th practice that we got to see today. Really well organized, very efficient. Give us a sense of where you feel you guys are in terms of progression in camp.
You know, Dave, the NCAA came in and changed the landscape of football to have a 7-day acclimatization period. And so today was the finale of that. We'll actually take tomorrow. And then what I'm really looking forward to is Monday. That's our first live scrimmage. You're only getting 2 the way the rules are laid out now. So I thought it's been a good first week. I think you saw our kids they understand us better. They know what we want. The expectation level isn't such a difference between what we want and what we're getting.
Talking about the practice today, you have a new offensive coordinator, Barry Lunney, a guy you're very familiar with. Give us a sense of what we can expect offensively from you.
You know, Dave, he's a quarterback by nature, right? So all those QBs are the spearhead of any offense, whether they've been a player, whether they've been a coach, as an assistant or as a coordinator. And Barry's teaching skills that are a high level. His communication skills are very, very simple. Our guys understand them. And then I just love his demeanor. He's always teaching. His dad is a Hall of Fame coach for a reason. And he raised a son in that same capacity. So, yeah, I'm excited. I think as a coach that's going into my 14th year as a head coach, I've never been more excited about what our offense is doing, what we potentially think I can see us going to and evolving to as we go forward.
How do you feel about the quarterback spot?
I like it. Tommy's really kind of come into his own here in the last week. Art Sikowski, we lost him in the Penn State game, right, midway through that game that took 7 hours to complete. But he hadn't practiced since last November, so he's really knocking off the edge these first 2 weeks that he hasn't played football for 6 months. So we got to kind of give a grace there. Ryan Johnson, but we have a couple of new incoming guys, Donovan Leary, Kirkland Michel, some guys that I think can help us down the road.
Your defense improved by leaps and bounds last year, not just year over year, but during the course of the season too. Got better and better. Last 6 games, you gave up 1 touchdown pass. What has made Coach Walters such a good fit here defensively?
You know, Dave, I think you see it, I see it out on the field, his demeanor, his presence. He's a guy that really understands it. You know, he started off his playing career as a quarterback, so I think that baseline of what he is really helps him teach. Doesn't have a lot of calls. He's not having his magic call sheet. He's not a guy that has to have a call for every situation. He wants to play solid, fundamental football. His ability to adjust in game is unprecedented. I sit back and I just kind of watch him work during the course of the game and then during the course of a game, and he's an incredible competitor and gets those guys to play at a high level.
Final question for you. What are the advantages of
Well, defensively, the Illini did take some huge strides last year, allowing 10 fewer points, giving up 70 fewer yards per game than the program did during the Lovie-Smith era. That's a great trend for a team that wants to rely on a strong run game and a stout defense. Joshua Perry is standing by with one of the guys who makes that defense stout.
Standing by with Tariq Barnes, a linebacker on this Illinois defense. And I want to start on that side of the football. Brett Bielema raves about Ryan Walters and what he brings to that defense. As a player, what do you see out of his play calling that allows you to have success?
I feel like he's very intelligent in terms of knowing what the offense is going to present. Obviously, I feel like he knows his stuff, and then just by him play calling it in the way that he does, I'm confident in the fact that he's going to get us in what we need to play.
And then we watched practice today. Obviously, you look very good, but there are a number of players who we might not have seen before that look great. On your side of the ball, who are some of those guys that you expect to be contributors?
I feel like y'all know Sidney Brown. We got Kendall Smith standing in there. Linebacker-wise, I feel like we play solid all across the board and up front. I feel like all around our guys are solid, and everybody does their job and do what they're supposed to do.
This team looks to take another step forward offensively as well, and I know that there are a lot of guys out there who are making plays. You go up against them every day. Who are some of the guys that you feel like are the most challenging to have to deal with on a day-to-day basis?
Playing against a new type of quarterback like Tommy DeVito, and also, like y'all know, Isaiah Williams. He's obviously a challenging receiver to guard. Then you have our running backs and a plethora of them that's formidable on any team. So definitely that core of us, especially being a linebacker, that core is definitely, worth going against.
Your team opens up in week 0, and I know Coach Bielema has talked about how much he actually enjoys playing in week 0. From a player's perspective, how much does the preparation change? How used to it are you from doing it last year?
Last year we did it, so I say I'm pretty used to it now. Playing in week 0, I feel like there is no gap, so we kind of just roll straight into it and coming off fall camp, going into a week 0 game. I think the rollover is actually still in football mode, so therefore you get the camp time to prepare and then you go straight into game, which I think all fall into one another because it leads straight into the season.
This is a team that I feel like is ready to take the next step. Just looking at the guys out at practice, it seems like y'all were in the weight room. A lot of guys looking real rocked up at this point in the year. What do you see as the ceiling for this football team?
Obviously, we want to go far. We expect to go far, and only time will tell what we put forth. And hopefully, we're proud of ourselves at the end of this, and we put on a great show for our fans, and obviously build more brotherhood in that.
Really a fascinating schedule for Nebraska in 2022. Open up in Dublin, then no rest for the weary. Come right back, play one of the best FCS teams in the country. Still in non-conference mid-September. You get Oklahoma, and check out the backloaded last 3 games at Michigan, home against Wisconsin, and of course on Black Friday against Iowa. Offensive line will always be a key to the Huskers' success, and Howard Griffith is standing by with a very big, literally and figuratively, part of that group.
Pleased to be joined by Turner Corcoran. I need to stand up here to talk to you. No, so how have things been going for camp for you?
Pretty good. You know, things we preach around here is day by day, and with the offensive line unit, you know, we preach sticking together and cohesive groupness and stuff like that. So, you know, as long as we're sticking by the code, you know, I think we're doing well.
Now, you've had some experience playing inside and also outside.
Yes, sir.
How has playing outside last year helped you really solidify your game inside this year?
Yeah, so last year playing outside at left and right tackle, you know, dudes are really quick in the Big Ten. They're real fast. They get to your edge pretty fast, and they threaten you in that way. And then in interior, it's a fist fight in a phone booth. There's a lot of ways that people describe it, and so you know, I'm just glad to have the opportunity to be able to play here.
What are some of the things you wanted to work on this offseason or even going through camp to get you prepared for the season?
You know, just being a smarter football player, you know, being able to read a defense from being either a left guard, left tackle, right guard, or center. You know, I feel like just being able to read a defense is something that is very important for anyone on the offensive line or as an offense.
You guys got the week 0 game, get a chance to go over to Dublin. How has that changed, or how is it different from last year's camp for you?
Last year we did have week 0, but a little different. We were playing at Illinois, and then this year we're going all the way to Ireland. So I think that as long as we're able to stay on our schedule and do what we need to do, I think we'll be all right heading into game 0.
Give me a couple of keys to victory for this offense as a whole for you guys to be successful this year.
Yeah, just be able to play together. You know, stuff we talk about in the offensive line is just playing as a group, and you know, just being able to, you know, win the battle up front.
All right, well, stay healthy.
Yes, sir.
Enjoy watching you practice today.
Thank you.
Perhaps the most pleasant surprise of the Scott Frost era in Lincoln has been the steady improvement of a Husker defense that many believe would have to play catch-up to its high-octane offensive counterparts. Instead, thanks to guys like Luke Reimer, the Black Shirts are back. Now, true, this defense does have to deal with some turnover. Huskers losing 6 defensive players who earned all Big Ten honors last season, and the returning headliner is Reimer, the only returning Husker in all 3 phases to make an all Big Ten team a year ago. Joshua Perry has more.
Standing by with Luke Reimer, a linebacker on this Nebraska defense. And we'll start with the defense. Felt like it was a pretty good day today. You guys have had continuity on that side of the ball. Where do you feel like your ceiling is for this season?
Pretty high. Like you said, like there's a lot of continuity with the front 7 especially. The back guys, there's a little bit of new guys in the safeties coming in, filling in spots, but they're all doing a good job. Our front 7, there's a couple new guys there too. But like I said, we've had the same coaches for the most part for my entire career, so 4 years. So 4 years now, so it's a lot of fun, and I think our ceiling's pretty high.
Now, as you go up against this offense, you got some new faces over there, both players and coaches. What are you seeing out of them that challenges you differently than what you saw last year?
Yeah, there's a lot of new concepts they're doing that we didn't see last year before, but at the end of the day, it's still football. There's still stretches. There's still inside zone, mid zone, like all that stuff. But there is a little bit more wrinkles and stuff that this offense brings. So it's a challenge every day for sure.
Now, I'm looking back at last year, coming to practice, feels like there was a lot more energy this year. And I know that there have been changes within the program. Can you speak to just the energy that you guys are feeling right now?
Yeah, no, I love the energy this team has. And the new coaches, especially on the offensive side of the ball, it's really good. I like those coaches a lot. They bring the juice every morning, every day. That you come in there, they're just yelling, screaming. So it's a lot of fun so far.
Week 0 in Dublin, Ireland. What are you looking forward to most?
Hopefully getting a win. Like that's all it is. Like. Everybody's asking me, like, are you excited to go over to Ireland? Like, are you guys going to do fun stuff? I was like, I have no idea. It's just game 1. Like, that's all our focus is. Like, it's going to be a cool experience going overseas. I've never been out of the country, so it'll be a cool experience, but it's a business trip, so that's how we're focused in on it.
All right, Luke, appreciate your time and good luck this season.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
To say Northwestern struggled at QB last year is putting it kindly. Neither Ryan Helinski nor Andrew Marty nor Hunter Johnson could command the Cats' offense. Helinski, now the expected starter, should benefit from working with the same OC in consecutive seasons for the first time in his career. Back to Joshua Perry and Howard Griffith.
All right, Howard, we just finished up at Northwestern's practice. There was a lot for us to take in based off of the year that they had a year ago. What would you say was your biggest takeaway?
I think there's a lot of growth for this team. I think the fact that they have a quarterback battle that could go all the way into the season is impressive. And I know you never really want to have that type of situation, but to me, it puts them in the best situation to make sure that this team is able to score points. That's one of the things that always has to happen. When you think about a team that's really been able, Northwestern, to have the success that they need to, they've always had good quarterback play, and they've always been able to play defense. We're still going to have to wait and see about both of those.
I agree on waiting and seeing about both of those, but, the biggest takeaway from that quarterback battle, I think both of those guys, Helinski and Sullivan, had some really good moments today. I think both of those guys had some moments where they can look at the tape and learn as well, and that's what training camp is for. You want to make sure that you can get your guys ready for the season. And defensively, I felt like it was a lot of the same. We watched the team period, and we saw some explosive plays, but I think that there is a dedication and an energy on that defense right now that they know they want to get better. I know there were a couple of guys who stood out on that side of the ball to you. Who's the guy that you were looking at?
Well, Cam Mitchell, to me, at corner, has a chance to be one of the top corners in this conference. I mean, he has just really developed over his career here. He's physical at the point of attack. We saw a lot of that. He's going to talk a little trash when he needs to, and he does a great job in coverage. So he's going to be a guy that's going to be able to take half that field away for this defense if they choose to play him in that direction.
And that's a big thing, especially with the way the offenses are in college football right now. You need a guy who can eliminate one half of the football field and allows your rush and coverage everywhere else to play a lot better. I flip it over to the offensive side, a guy that we talk about all the time, Peter Skoronski. I mean, he is absolutely ridiculous. Every time we watch him, he looks really good, and then you pair a couple of really good running backs with Porter and Hull behind that offensive line. It feels like their run game is going to be a big strength this year.
I think that needs to be a big part of it when you have some uncertainty at the quarterback spot. If you can get the run game going, that's going to take a lot of pressure off. And the other thing that they do a lot, they're going to dump it down to those running backs. They're going to have opportunities to catch it out of the backfield, but having two of those guys that are going to be able to make explosive plays from behind the quarterback will be important for this offense to have success.
We talked about the check down game at practice, and I feel like as an offense that's developing, it's good to know that you can at least dump it down to those guys, and they can make one or two cuts, make a guy miss in space, and you can gobble up yards that way. But that does it here at Northwestern. We'll be at Illinois next. Okay. Howard Griffith, probably a nice homecoming for you.
Maybe. I know my way around town.
Got to appreciate when Fitz is on the Twitter machine, reminding everybody kickoff is close when the Big Ten Network crew comes to camp. But Fitz doesn't just tweet, he also talks. Dave Refson has the proof.
Pleased to be joined now by Coach Pat Fitzgerald. Coach, got a chance to watch you guys go through practice. Really impressive. How would you assess where you are at this point in camp?
Well, I like where the squad is at. They're a little tired. A lot of pride in our program, and the guys have really worked hard since January. So I think we're making the necessary strides. It's going to be a really important week for us next week because the week after that, you kind of get into a game week mentality with having to travel so far. So like where we're at, but a lot of work still left to do.
You talk about the pride in the program, and obviously last year was not the kind of year that you want to have. Where are the areas where you feel like you've improved the most since then?
Well, I like where the two top quarterbacks are playing. I really like the entire room. I like the depth there. We got some younger guys that are talented, but the way that Ryan and Sully are playing right now, I'm really, really pleased with the growth there. We got to be consistent there. When we've been consistent at quarterback, we compete at a high level, and I know those two guys are really working hard at that. And getting some guys back from injury that maybe we had last year or even spring ball is adding competitive depth. On defense, it's not hard. We've got to stop the run. We've got to win at level 3, and we've got to tackle better. And those are the things that we've been working on since the day we walked, back in this building after our last game against Illinois. And then, kick game-wise, we've got to kick it more consistent. We've just got to be more consistent there. Our protection was pretty solid outside of maybe one play last year. But we've got to kick it better. And, I like, again, the focus, the mindset, the details. These next 2 weeks are going to tell us where we're going to be for the opener.
Let's break down a few of those things you talked about. Quarterback play, first and foremost. As you said, when you've had really good quarterback play, you guys have won the division. And when you haven't, it hasn't gone as well. You've got two guys, it seems like, competing right now. How will you differentiate between Helinski and Sullivan?
Every level, it's a pretty important position in our game. Grade school, high school, college, and the pros. And we've been blessed to have, our Mount Rushmore quarterbacks here is pretty spectacular. So, number one, I think the way we've done it, we've kind of alternated by day who's running with the ones, high level of accountability for turnovers. And, that may change it up from time to time in practice. But guys are taking care of the ball pretty darn well, which I'm pleased with. But both guys are poised. Both guys want the job. Both guys are incredibly huge fans of each other. And, last time we kind of had a battle like this a little bit. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Kane and Trevor when we had two really good guys playing at a high level coming out of camp. We had to make some decisions on where we were going to go, and we'll have to do the same here in a couple weeks.
You mentioned the defense, particularly at the point of attack last year. How have you addressed that issue?
Well, being in the building all year, we take pride in being the best developmental staff in the country, and Jay Hooten and his staff in the weight room did a great job this year. Guys bought into what we were doing, and that was the area that when we assessed both sides of the line of scrimmage, but especially on defense, we needed to get stronger, and I believe we've done that. We've also had to reinforce that group. We brought in some experienced, talented guys. We just felt like our depth was a little bit, maybe not where we wanted it, and I think we're going to see some impact by those guys that are new to our program.
One area that really shines, the two running backs. I think you even go deeper than that, but obviously the first two are pretty special in Porter and Hull. Give us a sense of that room and how having multiple threats there could change things offensively.
Well, Evan had a great year last year, not only running the ball, being physical, but also catching the ball out of the backfield, and he's worked so hard, for that. Cam coming back off a tough deal last year is hungry to get back out and help the football team. Those two guys I think are right now at a really good spot. And then AC and Trey, I agree. I mean, I like told you on the field, I think we got 1A and 1B and 2A and 2B. That group, and then the younger five behind them, I think are going to help us. We have to stay healthy in that position. If we can do that, we can get that talent also out on the field in the kick game, which really for the last couple of years we haven't been able to do.
I'm going to leave you with this one. You have an unusual opener. You're going to Ireland. Obviously, it's an incredible opportunity. But just from a pragmatic point of view of trying to get your team on the right body clock and get ready to make that long trip, what do you have to do differently in camp?
Well, I did a lot of research on that. Probably, try to make sure we did all that in the offseason maybe a year ago, and now just try to keep everything what we're doing somewhat of what I'd call normal. Logistically, it's tough on the operations staff, but we hope the players won't notice anything different. Just a little longer flight for a road/home game, and we'll put everything in before we get on the plane. So we'll treat this like a bye-week bowl game type mentality before we leave for Dublin. The whole game plan will be in. Everything will be done. We'll just put kind of some finishing touches on when we touch down Wednesday morning, and then we got a little bit of time there. The real challenge is when you come back. That's what I experienced this spring. Your body clock really gets out of whack coming back to the States. We feel very fortunate we have a bye in week one to be able to make sure we get our guys right, and then also obviously being on the quarter system, not being in class helps a lot too.
Northwestern head coach Pat Fitzgerald, great to see you, Coach. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, buddy. Go Cats.
Defense certainly an area of focus. Huge drop-off from the last year of the Mike Hankwitz era to Jim O'Neill in his first year last season. Perhaps improvement in year two. Let's talk more defense. Joshua with, shocker, another linebacker.
Standing by with Bryce Gallagher, a linebacker for this Northwestern defense. And I want to start on your side of the football. The things probably didn't go the way that you wanted them to a year ago. As you start to see this defense develop, where do you think the biggest improvement has come?
I think all over the place, really. I think we had a lot of guys get good experience last year, get some good game reps under their belt, and then we just learned from the mistakes we made last year and just made sure we came into this offseason and through spring ball and now through training camp just correcting those things, and just all over the experience has helped a ton with this group, and I feel really good where we're at.
As you get through this season, how are you guys going to define success on the defensive side of the ball?
Just getting 3 and outs, like kind of having that bend, don't break mentality on longer drives, just making sure we're bowing up in the red zone, tight zone, make them kick field goals, and that's kind of our success is just getting off the field.
Week 0 is going to be in Ireland. How does that change your preparation through training camp?
Nothing crazy. I mean, we're just kind of trusting the coaches. They have our best interests in mind, so just following the plan they've laid out through us, our strength coaches, nutritionists, everyone just following the plan they've laid out for us and making sure that we're ready to go come week 0.
As you have discussions in the locker room amongst the guys, why do you think this year is going to be different than last year?
I think just like I said, the experience factor that we kind of all got last year, especially guys like myself, like first year starting last year, just kind of getting those game reps under our belt, and just the experience piece I think is a huge aspect. And we know what to expect when the bullets start flying now, so we're going to be ready and we'll be ready to go, yeah.
I'll get you out of here on this one. I was talking to Coach Fitz earlier, and you guys like to do some fun things to break up camp. You had the ice cream truck today, which you told me you skipped. You've been playing a little Family Feud in the team meetings. What is your favorite part of training camp?
I think just the camaraderie, just the guys, being in the locker room with the guys, being surrounded by them throughout the day. You know, we're here from early in the morning to late at night, so kind of building that brotherhood, and that's what I think kind of reflects on the field, is having that brotherhood and knowing that we got each other's backs out there. So kind of just that camaraderie piece and brotherhood that we build during training camp.
All right, Bryce, appreciate your time and good luck this season.
Thank you.
The Illini, I think they're cooking now. Wait until August 27th. Late August, mid-afternoon kick for the opener. That will officially be cooking. Let's get some final thoughts on the Illini from Joshua and Howard.
Just finishing up practice number 3. Howard, we're here at Illinois. Of course, I know you were excited to be back. And we got a good look at what the Illini are going to be this fall. And we'll start with some of the players that we saw on the field, specifically the body types. Yeah. You know, as I was watching the practice, I was impressed. You got guys who are rocked up, they're vascular, you know, they're looking really put together, and it looked like they had a great summer in the weight room.
Yeah, I think Coach Tank has done a tremendous job of getting them prepared. When you talk about those skill positions, they're longer, particularly at the corner position. They have athletes that are going to be able to have some top-end speed and make a lot of plays, and that's part of building your roster. I think they've done a tremendous job in the offseason of putting these guys together, putting them into their workout programs, and it showed out there on the field today.
No, certainly. I mean, you talk about the weight room, and that's one aspect of it because you got to develop the players when they're on campus. But the other aspect is exactly what you talked about, is the type of profile of player they want to recruit. And they've done a good job of recruiting not only in high school, but in the transfer portal. Tommy DeVito is one of those guys that a lot of people should be talking about this fall. We saw him make some pretty good plays out there throwing the football. He's also a guy who's got some wiggle to him, so he can give you a little bit of versatility on the ground. Probably the best we've seen this quarterback position in a little while.
Yeah, and add Art to that mix, and I think you have two quarterbacks that are very capable of being able to lead this team to victories. But as you talked about, DeVito, I thought, you know, his calmness in the pocket, the way he interacted with his players and his teammates, obviously, really shows that he has a lot of confidence and they believe in him. And I think that's a big part of being able to trust a guy that's going to be under center for you to have success from an offensive standpoint.
The other thing that really stands out when you watch this team practice is it is a very clean, very efficient practice. And it's from the moment they walk in the door, they come in, they start the day, have a quick little casual meeting in the locker room, make it up to the team meeting room, do some awesome things in here. And then when you go out to practice, not a lot of balls on the ground, not a lot of operation errors. They're moving quickly from station to station. I mean, as efficient of a practice as we're probably going to see all camp.
I think so. And it starts in the morning. In that first team meeting, kind of sets the tempo for what that day is ultimately going to be about. And it's about coaching the players through the practice. And I think he does a tremendous job of being able to do that. A lot of communication going on with the assistant coaches to the players, and that's always good to see. But again, it starts in the morning. We had an opportunity to sit in a team meeting. The coaches were being coached, the players are being coached, and then they go out and replicate what they've seen on film out on the practice field. Really shows the organizational skill that they have in place here right now. And really, I think it's a reason that Illinois fans should really be excited.
Absolutely, and they'll get started off early this season, too, playing in Week 0, and that'll be an exciting one.
Week 0, really the first 4 weeks, awfully important because look at that stretch for the Illini from October 1st to November 19th. Of those 7 games, 6 are against teams that won at least 9 contests a year ago. And now, time for final thoughts from Dave Revson and Jerry DiNardo. Make one final trip down to the home of the Illini.
Coach, we just watched our third practice of our tour. Illinois, a team that went 5-7 last year, showed great improvement under Brett Bielema, but also a team that returns the least production of anyone in the Big Ten. But I think both of us came away really impressed and feeling like this is a team that can compete. What were your big picture impressions?
You know, I feel like not only did we watch a practice, I felt like I was back in coaching at a clinic. You know, we started in the morning with Coach Bielema's team meeting. That was really unique. You could see why there were so few errors unforced errors on the practice. In fact, there weren't any unforced errors until we started saying there hasn't been any unforced errors. And then we had 2 or 3 bad snaps.
You get us not invited back, right? Yeah.
2 or 3 bad snaps. But I think we go away, and I think we say this at other places, but I'll say even more here. We come away knowing that this team is going to be coached maybe as well as any team in the country, I would say, based on what we watched today.
Offensively is where they struggled last year, made a change, bringing in Barry Lunny as the offensive coordinator. What stood out as you watch that side of the ball?
Well, the first thing I already mentioned, you know, very few unforced errors. Brett Bielema has evolved from his days at Wisconsin and his days at Arkansas. I think they're going to be probably more multiple, maybe more balanced, although, as he told us in a staff meeting, we also had a staff meeting today. We went from the team meeting to a staff meeting. He's always wanted to be balanced, and I think we have this feeling that he's all run. He's really not. So I think they'll try to be more balanced. And when you look at the quarterbacks, not a lot of places have two quarterbacks like he has.
It feels like this is an offense, at least from where I sit, that could turn it around reasonably quickly. You agree?
I do, and the way you describe the offense gives them a chance to be balanced. They have some perimeter people that have some explosiveness. They're too deep at running back. Their offensive line, offensive lines are always a work in progress. I mean, there's very few camps that we're going to go to and come away and say, what a great offensive line. So they're a work in progress, just like most offensive lines are in the conference and in the country.
We'll see how they stack up pretty early on right here on the Big Ten Network as they open Week 0 against Wyoming.